down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
I'm sorry if I offended you in any way.
Oh, no.
Nigeria is a good place, but they steal everything there.
Well, everywhere.
Your identity, that's why you need to go to Family Tree now. I'm just playing. Here, this is just for you playing with me.
Yeah.
All right, if you give a good question today on this jump drive, this is a jump drive, there is a ton of free videos from people from around the country that we met. There's a how to do a subject 2 on here. I have a ton of forums on here. It's a bunch of valuable, this is worth a couple $1,000s, okay? So I'm giving these out today if you ask a good question. And the person that asked for the card, I was gonna give it to him, but then no one wants to get a free prize?
I'll tell you when he gets back.
Is he really in the potty? Sorry. Okay, hey listen, this is your time. This is for you. I normally don't teach during this time, but this was a subject a lot of people wanted to do, and this is a subject that I'm extremely passionate about. Okay, you said life purpose? I like that. Mine is to help people to be wealthy. That's my goal. I was poor my whole life, and I don't want to be poor anymore, and so I just kind of slightly figured it out. And one of those key factors, here's the things that I learned very easily in the beginning of real estate. Number 1, I learned construction as soon as possible. I mastered construction to save and make a lot more money. Oh, there he is. You were the guy that asked him for a business card. All right, listen, since you asked that guy for a business card, we're gonna give you a prize. In there is a bunch of videos, forms. I even put forms in there, like checklists that I have, all kinds of weird stuff. Because the most important thing that you need to do when you go somewhere and you're trying to prospect, you should be always thinking about private money everywhere you go. Everyone has, there's so much money in this room right here. I would say there's at least $5 to $10 million in this room that you have access to. You have to change your mindset that it's possible. Okay, so back to I learned construction first. The second thing that I figured in my mind that I thought that I mastered. Okay, now I'm not perfect. I'm not some guru guy. I just figured out I'm blue collar. I figured out construction first because I can make a lot more money, and I knew how to GC because the prices were so high. So I figured that out. Anybody want to guess what the second thing that I figured out was my next thing that I tried to master? Anybody have an idea?
Contractors.
That's number 1.
Money.
Banking. And that's the second thing is I was lucky and fortunate enough that I got to hang out with a banker a lot, and he was willing to meet with me as often as I wanted to. And so he broke down everything I ever needed to know about how the banking system worked. He actually eventually did my financial statement for me, and that's how I was able to borrow millions and millions of dollars. It's because there's one little relationship that I had with this one guy. I don't have that slide up here, but I normally have a slide on. I spent $200. He charged me $200 to do all my financials, and I probably have raised almost $12 million with that $200 that I initially paid. So this is a lot of things. These are just 2 examples. I'm just trying to change your mindset, because when you look at private money, it's a total different mindset. Okay, are we cool with that? That was a good introduction, huh? All right, I'm just playing. All right. Also, if you have questions, I'm down. I'm sensitive on your time. We can go all day if you want to. Now we're gonna cut this thing at 1 o'clock. And I'm tired. 1 o'clock on the dot. If your question's good, you get a prize. If it's okay, you get a prize. If you don't ask a question, you don't get a prize. So just ask any question, okay? There's no good or bad question. Okay, you guys, everybody never heard me before? Okay. So here's the thing that I was telling you earlier. I started off in my game in creative financing, then I mastered banking, and then where I feel like I went wrong is that I would have went private money first. And so NBA is never bank again. That's what the way I look at it, I made that acronym up, thank you very much. Never bank again.
Never.
And the cool thing is like, when you figure out, like I was so, first of all, and then hopefully we could change your mindset. So when I started in 1999, it took me 7 years to go to a bank, because because when I first went to a bank, I was insecure. I asked them for money, they denied me, and they didn't believe that my job as a DJ was a good enough job. And then I didn't have any financials. So that was my first, my first impression of a bank. Like, they hate me, they're white collar, I'm blue collar. And so that's where my first problem was wrong, that all white collar people live on this side of town, all the blue collar people live on this side of town, okay? Horrible thinking.
How long had you been DJing before you brought your finances to the bank and asked to borrow
Well,
money?
just like probably half the people in the room don't have finances organized. Does anybody, like, who wants to raise their hand that does not have their finances, they don't have a financial statement in a spreadsheet? Who does not have one? So I would gander at least half the room. I didn't have I was even getting loans without a financial statement in a spreadsheet. Because you can fill out a loan application, on the back of the loan application has assets and liabilities. That's a financial statement. This is 4 lines. So no, I didn't start getting legit on borrowing money through the bank until 2006.
But then say, how long were you DJing before you?
I mean, I was been
Could
DJing
take
since
that
I was
and show you
1992.
self-employed.
I've been self-employed my whole life since I was 18. I mean, I've had like flunky jobs and stuff, but temporary. I've always made my own money. Like, I was DJing, but that was the main reason why I got denied, because I was self-employed. That is another reason why a lot of young people come to me and they think they can't get money because they're self-employed. That's not true today. Today, self-employment is like an accepted form. Also, now today there's no doc loans. Again, does anybody know what happened to the whole market crash? We don't get into history. You can ask Keith about that because he's really good at history. But the cool thing is, I wish I would have went with private money now. Then I wish, I think getting bank funding is the hard way. Okay, any questions on that, what I said? Did I confuse anybody there? Okay, so Mr. Sam Walton, capital is scarce, but the vision, what is it? Vision is, okay. So like what I was saying, in this room, when I go into an environment, someone, everybody follow Grant Cardone? Anybody follow that guy?
Yeah.
What's this thing that he says all the time? Somebody has my money. Somebody, I know it's kind of, some people don't like that guy. I understand. Some people hate my guts too. That's cool. But the reality is, somebody has your money. Somebody in this room, I learned this thing not too long ago about human capital. Your human value. Like, you can partner with someone in this room. You may have time, but I have the money. Okay? So you got to have a better vision of your skill set and what you can offer somebody else. That's human value. Okay, so real basic. Private money. Okay? It's basically like a bank. You're borrowing money from someone else instead of like Jackie Short. She's the new bank institution. She can have a name, she can have an LLC and loan out of her LLC, but she's a private individual. That's what private money is. It's not regulatory, it's not with an institution, it's an individual that's going to loan you money. Okay? This is how I think of private money. Everyone says, I don't have money, I can't get in the game, I have no money. The cool thing is, private money is an unlimited funding. Like I said earlier, I said there's roughly around $5 to $10 million in here. Do you think we can get a few deals done with 5 to 10 million? Who borrows private money now? Who has done a private money transaction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there's about half the people in here. So the people, if you can look, hold your hand up again, look around, find that person at the end of the deal, get their card, take them out to lunch, and just ask them exactly how to do it. Okay? It's real simple. The cool thing is, you can purchase property with no money down. So don't be confused. It's not, hard money and private money are two separate things. Okay, a lot of people get those things confused. Private money, it's a relationship. Hard money, it's a business transaction. That's how I just quickly quantify the two. Now, I do loan private money out, but I treat it like a business. My terms are not hard money terms. Okay, what's a hard money term? Well, like an interest rate.
Yeah, 15%.
15%. There's this thing called points. What is a hard money points charge?
5 points probably on the front end.
Did you say 5?
Probably.
Man, I'm old.
I mean, I don't know. One or two?
Three.
Three.
Couple?
Three. I think anything above 3 and above is hard money. Okay, is hard money bad? No. Can you get wealthy on hard money? Absolutely. You can get, I mean, if the deal's good enough, that's another thing I teach young people. Stop worrying about the interest rate. Okay, the interest rate doesn't make you richer. What makes you richer? Oh, someone quote me on this.
Cash transactions.
Cash flow. And how do you get more cash flow? Longer AMs, better terms. So if the interest rate could be 30%, but it's on the 60-year AM, what's going to happen? Am I ever going to own the property? No. But what am I going to make? Money! Okay, let's get that cool. Write that down, somebody. I gotta put that on my Facebook somewhere. Is it? I don't remember. Anyway, so paperwork and process. So me personally, I loan money out all the time. So I am a hybrid. I'm in the middle of these. Okay? So you can be a hybrid. So I don't know what we should make up a new term, savvy money. You got private money, hard money, and there's a mixture of other things. So now, when you come across somebody with private money, they've never heard it before, you're gonna have to learn this game and walk this person through it. So for example, the girl that runs my office, she just loaned me private money. Did anyone want to guess how long it took me to get her to loan me private money? Now she worked for me almost 7 years. How long do you think? 7 years. I just said.
It took you 7 years.
It took 7 years. It took me 5 years to convince her. All the money that we make, all the transactions that we do, it took 5 years for her to loan me money. Now what's a short amount of time? 80 grand. A back of the room, hey man, I got this deal. And he's like, that sounds something that I'm willing to do. Okay? So there's no right or wrong way, but she was completely foreign to her. I had to say, listen, you could turn your IRA into a self-directed IRA, and then you can loan me the money out of your IRA tax-free, and then I pay you back through your IRA, and you don't have to pay any, you charge me interest, and you don't have to pay tax on any of that. Really? Does that happen? Sure. Now some people, I will mail them a book called, does anybody know that book? Anybody want to know the book I mail people?
Handbook to IRA.
Yeah, that's the
Self-directed.
thing. Yeah.
What is it?
Okay, hold. Who yelled at me back there?
I couldn't hear you.
I thought you were one of the tardy ones.
What was it?
Okay, what is it called?
Self-directed IRA handbook. I think.
Self-directed IRA handbook. It's gray with a yellow writing on it. And it's a great book to read. It's real simple. But if you can get someone to look at that book, and no one reads past the first chapter. There's statistical, and I can break all this down, but it doesn't matter. But the first chapter is extremely powerful because it opens their eyes that you can loan out of your IRA to gold, to silver, to real estate. You can loan your money to any entity outside of your family, to your immediate family. So it's a $12, $14 book, or whatever it is. It's the best money you spend. Read it and then just pass it around. So like when I'm at football games with my son, I just bring cases of that book, open the back door, anybody want a free book? And I slide my little business card in there. It's just an idea. I'm just throwing it out there. Now, you see the difference on the private money that's very important. Hard money is at 70%, and private money is at 100%. Okay? That's very important. Why is that important?
No down payment.
No down payment. The risk is shifted tremendously. The private money guy, the hard money people, they shift all the risk onto you, or they try to. And then the 100% goes towards the private lender, 100% financing. All right, so let's do a little case study. Hey, this is the guys in the room. There he is. Did you know you were going to be on the...
I did not, man. That's great. Paying me back for doing it to you.
Yeah, I'd loaned you money too, I guess. All right, this is 100% true story. I still own this property. You can write it down and go drive by it right now. It's right around the corner. That's how I bought this building, working on this house. How crazy is that? I was rehabbing this house and I kept driving by this building and I just called the sign. The next thing you know, we're here. Anyway, so got this, the realtor calls me. Hey, got this house, $85,000. No way. I get under contract for $69,000. The interesting thing about borrowing money from a skilled investor and their wife is a realtor. That's another problem. Because they have their own way of doing things. They have their own matrix of how they quantify property, how they do their own comps. Man, it's interesting that in a room I gotta say things a little bit differently, how I normally would say them. They tried to punk me. So I got a no from them. So I talked to them in the back of the room at a meeting. Hey, I found out that they loan money, and so that's the first thing you do. You want to approach them, and I found out. This is a hybrid. So this is not this transaction is kind of a private money and kind of a hard money, because hard money is like this is a professional transaction. Private money is kind of a personal thing. So he's a professional real estate investor, and you can get a lot of money this way. Because I borrow, that's where a majority of my money comes from, is from other investors that are stockpiling cash for the market to crash, and they want to move it, and I'm borrowing it right now from them. Okay, so this case study is based on the hybrid. Okay, so I texted him, softly one time. It's like, hey man, do you do private money? He replied right back, yes we do. Great. So I said, hey, I got this house. This is the address, 1918. So the first thing these people did, they pulled their own comps, and they fired back. I was like, hey, how much? First of all, they're going to ask you how much do you want to borrow? And of course, I said 80,000 because I got it under contract for how much?
69.
So, okay. Does anybody know what happened there?
Closing costs,
Rehab money.
Rehab money. Okay. So they fired back with, hey man, our comps come back at 85. And I was like, okay, but I have a bona fide appraisal right here for 125. And I forwarded the appraiser to them, and they said, okay, we'll loan you the 85 or 80, whatever I asked for. So I always pull an appraiser on every property that I buy. That's just a rule of thumb. If I just do that. It's usually just a basic drive-by appraisal, and I just factor that in my due diligence, $200. For what? Why would I do that? Who wants to answer that?
helps with private money so you can show them what's
Well,
right there.
makes private money much easier. What's another reason? Huh? Board?
If you're buying it right.
Buying it right? There's another reason.
Well, if you're,
It's an unbiased opinion of.
Right? Because I'm emotional. That's a good answer.
So-
I should give you a prize.
if you
What's
decide to
another
go to the
reason?
bank, you're already that much further in the process.
I have options. I can go to a bank and I have an appraisal. A banker will talk to you much faster when you say, I have an appraisal and I'm looking for a refinance. It's a tool that I use all the time. Because the banker knows when you go into a banker, he's going to have to pull the appraiser. Why? Because that's their policy and procedures. If I've already taken one step out of their way of writing a loan, who they're going to call first?
You'd rather pick.
You should just put your hands together and clap right now, because I just gave you the greatest tip of a lifetime right there. Why do you think I get all my loans approved before everybody else? Usually order the appraisal way before the ball even gets moving. Now, the trick is you have to get the right appraiser that's approved by that bank, and it's kind of a sticky situation. But I've actually pulled an appraiser and pulled an appraisal, paid for it privately, and ordered another appraiser through that bank. What did it cost me? How much was it worth? Some people are just too cheap. But how did I get top of the line? How did I get closed faster? How do I get the ball rolling faster? Much faster than any other investor in the room. Because I have my ducks in a row. I'm organized. I'm a professional. What I'm doing. These are the things that you should do. You should always hire an appraiser. You guys should just owe me lunch later. Would you agree? Right?
So you said you hire an appraiser, and then you also hire one through the bank
If the bank requires it, but there's some really cool banks out there that don't necessarily make that a requirement. I mean, they make it a requirement for the appraiser because that's their policy and procedures, appraisal. But the law has changed where they have this lottery thing, and they have to they can't pick a specific appraiser. But there's a range of appraisers that they can use from.
Where do you find that? The appraisals? Do you look in a certain area? Appraisal
Well,
area? Or?
I call John.
Ask your banker.
I call John. Yeah, I asked them who what
I've
bank.
asked my banker.
Yeah, I just asked.
before.
Yeah, because you borrow money totally different than how I borrow money, and you have
That's-
totally
that's
different
great.
appraisers I've never even heard of.
That's a great point. If you're working with a specific bank, you might say, hey, who is on your list?
Yeah.
And you can maybe step outside and hire them that way, I guess.
Yeah. Good question. You get a prize. So let's rephrase that question so we'll memorize it.
Okay.
Well, what the tip is, you should call your bank that you're considering getting a loan, and who's the group of appraisers that you use? Because like the law changed a long time ago, and I don't know what year was that?
After the
I
crash.
think it was
Not
2011
Yeah,
maybe.
it's like-
or
When the
8.
crack, yeah. When was the Wild West and appraisers were just like on drugs and things were happening. So then the government stepped in and made a regulatory that you have to do it through a lottery. The banker cannot know who does the appraiser. Well, that's not necessarily 100% true.
Yeah,
because
Commercial
banks-
money's
They
different.
they have processors and different, but the loan
The loan
officers,
officer
we don't talk with the loan officers. So.
Okay. So I pulled the appraiser for number 4 is because I have options. So the bank, now here's the situation right here. The bank was willing to give me $93,000. I think the Grip family was only going to give me 80. I can't remember what I borrowed.
Like 78 or 80, somewhere there.
Somewhere, I was for sure 80. I didn't put no money in the game. So it was 8. And so I had options. Here's the cool thing. Most of my life, I've been lazy with the banks. I mastered the banks. I have relationships with several banks. I just fill in my application. I get funding. Okay, because and we should have a class on how I deal with banks. But I already have that. So I'm a lazy with banks. But here's a really cool thing that happened on this transaction. Thank you that I have it. This property, I make $300 a month, plus I got an equity pay down. My life has changed forever because of the Grip family. Thank you very much. Here's the cool thing. So 14 months rolls by, they call me, hey Stephen, we want our money back. Do you remember that conversation? Because that was your wife calling me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. No problem. I called my bank with that same exact appraisal and got $93,000 that day. So I used his money, interest only in my mind, and I cash flow like an animal for 1 year, for 14 months. After 14 months, I paid them off. And then they were integrity people because I overpaid them somewhere. I made an extra payment because I had it on autoplay. They actually mailed me some money back. I got cash at refinance, and I still own that asset today. Isn't that just why we love real estate? So yes, sir, your life has changed today.
I was curious about the 14 months. What was the terms on that?
It was a 12-month loan,
Okay.
and I just
So they
sleep
could
at
have
the
repoed
wheel.
the property at 14 months, is that what you're saying?
Huh?
I think we extended it for 2 months because we had another deal we wanted to do. So I went to him and said, hey man, I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah.
No, this is a good point. This is a good point. This is going to happen.
No,
This
we
is
were
going-
there over the term and you wanted to renew it.
Yeah,
and I
no,
knew
they
you-
were
I knew
happy
you
that
had
I was
available,
mailing
so.
them $800 a month. I promise you, they weren't mad that I was, and I think they weren't really mad that I overpaid them. I mean, let's see. This is where people get confused about private money. Let's get out of the comfort zone here. I'm telling you, I'll loan anybody here in this room money. Okay, so you put my name down. That's the one thing you should do. Put my name down. I gave you my freaking card. I will loan you money. Here's the great thing. If I loan you a 6-month or a 12-month loan and you're still paying me, do I really think I want my money back? No. What do I want? Cash flow. And what's the best cash flow you can get? Interest only on a collateralized loan that I know my job, that you screw it up, I'll take that from you, no problem. Because I know how to do that too. So screw me over, I'll take it. And you'll put insurance in my name, so if the thing burns down. Do you understand? All my investors that I work with, all my private money, they don't want me to give them their money back. But you have to give them the illusion that you want to give it back to them. And I do. There's some people like the Grid, they were buying other properties and they needed the cash at that time. It was like no big deal. I'm sorry that I slept at the wheel, because when I got it, I just put it on autopilot. And I treat them like a banker. I love on them, I email them, and I just pay them every month. Before that, if they want their money on the 5th, their money's gonna get there on the 1st. If they want their money on the 10th, their money's gonna get there on the 5th. I'm gonna give it to them 5 days early, and I'm gonna be in constant contact with them because there's an opportunity. Their goal is to get their money back and to make interest. Everyone's goal in this whole world is what? To make a return on investment. If you can make it simple and easy for them, they're going to love you forever. They're going to loan you money again. Would you loan me money again?
Absolutely.
Even though I screwed up and forgot 2 months, and they had to and his wife is real detailed. She had to go back and figure out the exact amount of how much I overpaid because I didn't know, because they want their terms, they wanted some principal being paid down, not just interest only. When I loan you money, it's straight interest only. I don't even want principal. At the end of the loan, I want my money back plus this. So it's just clean and dirty. It's just easy for me. I don't want to be messing around with a calculator. So that's how I. But here's another point there. Everybody's different in how they do their money. Okay? So if we got time, I got a transaction I'm in the middle of right now. Okay, here's another one. So I bought this property, 3031 Northwest 23rd. You ever heard of the Antique Mall?
Yep, no, exactly.
Yep, well, I own it. Come on over. So it was listed for $525. It was an older lady. She had this property, and she had a huge portfolio, and this was her last property in her portfolio. I don't know why. I never met her. I just know that she was an older lady. That's all I know about her. Because I got a little nervous when they accepted my offer. Real fast. It's never a good sign. Just FYI, little tip there. If someone says yes within 30 minutes, you have a problem. And so I saw it was listed for $525, and I actually at this time I had a tenant that needed a place. I had a displaced tenant that needed this size of a building, 7,000 square foot building. So I was motivated. So I put in an offer for $475. She said yes, and I said, oh no. So I started doing my due diligence. I needed to raise the money. Another private lender / investor. This individual, he just sold 9 of his houses, and he was buying apartments, and he had over $1 million in cash sitting in his bank account. Now this is a relationship that I built with this guy over the years. I met him at a meeting just like this. Built a relationship. We had lunch that day, and I just been talking to him. I like him, and he's a good friend of mine, and we've just been interacting for several years. I knew, since I've been talking to him on a regular basis, I knew that he had $1 million in cash. Now, I always line up money. I don't just rely on one source of funding. If you want to write that down, write that down. Do not rely on one source of funding. I don't rely on one private money, and I don't rely on one banker. Because Andy's buying property right now all over the country, and so he could be tied. I can't rely on Andy. It's not a negative thing, but if you want to be a successful real estate investor, you can't rely on one banker. You can't rely on one situation. So I already had bank funding in place for this acquisition. And what happened here is this bank was kind of screwing me around. It was a new bank. I was referred to this bank. I don't want to say the name. There's a 2 in their name. That's all I'm gonna say. And somebody forgot to order it. Somebody forgot to order the appraisal. And I was like, buddy, I have a displaced tenant that has to move in by this date, because all of their material, everything that they've worked hard for will be a problem. And it's a long story. I should get into this in more depth. But it was a very interesting transaction because I had to step in and negotiate for that guy from his last building because they were strong-arming him to get out. But then my building, I had to get another 30-day extension because the bank was screwing me around. And the main reason here was they started changing the terms on me the week of closing. Has that ever happened to anybody before? How do you stop that deal? Anybody know how to stop that? Giving away a prize. How do I stop a bank? Well, that's a good answer. You're coached very well.
I'll add to my change terms. Yeah, that happened. I mean, not the week of closing, but.
No, but how do you stop that from happening? First of all, this happens. A bank will say, hey, we'll give you 6%, 30-year AM, and then you're about to close. This just happened to my friend in Detroit. He called me crying. This just happened to him. He was supposed to close on the 15th. He actually did close. He called me on that 3 days before. I'm like, dude, this happens all the time. Let me show you how to handle this.
You just give them letter things, right?
That's it. Get a term letter. Write that down. Anytime you deal with a bank, get a term sheet. It's the proper term.
Term sheet?
Term sheet. And even the bank that you're working with right now, you ever get a term sheet? get a term sheet. A term sheet does, it's not ironclad, but it kind of holds everybody to accountable to what's going on here. This is a massive transaction. I have a displaced tenant with a 5-year lease coming over to my building. I got the money lined out, and then they're trying to change the terms on me. Basically, they had me over a barrel because the appraisal did not come in time, but they said they would still write the loan without the appraisal. I think that's very bizarre how this all went down. So I was like, screw it, dude, I'm done messing with you. I emailed this guy right here. I sent him the appraisal because I finally got the appraisal, but it was like last minute. I emailed the appraisal to him. He asked me within 3 days, he wired me $500,000. I closed on that Friday. Then I go, what do you want? He said, I just want $5,000, 1%. Okay, thank you, sir. Can I, at first I was like, I only need your money for 30 days. And basically what was happening here, this is like a transactional bridge loan. Have you heard of that terminology? Transactional funding, okay? Because I already had 2 banks lined up. I had a bank in the wind that was ready to roll, but I didn't like their terms. And then I wanted to build a relationship with this new bank that was saying they were gonna do this, but then they weren't doing that. And I was like, not cool with that because people's lives are in the limbo here. So I was like, hey, I was very confident. I had 2 institutions. I knew I could have just take the strong arm and just go with that guy because they wanted to write the loan. They're the ones that paid for the appraisal. They're the ones that ordered the appraisal. They had a lot more online on this loan, so I knew I could get that loan. I had my backup funding in place just in case bank number 1 was not going to do it right. So I had bank number 2 ready to roll, and that was interesting because I was over my limit at that bank. So I told the private lender, hey man, I'm in a pickle here. I just need this money for 30 days. So he was more advantageous for me because he knew my, plus my portfolio. He's like, let me just give you 60 days. And he was right. It took me 60 days to refinance that transaction out. So for $5,000, the rent on the property was how much? $5,000. So this was a no money down deal. I borrowed, the transaction was $475. To close that transaction was roughly around $10,000 to close that transaction. So it's $485. I got $500,000 in my bank. The guy moved in with a $5,000 deposit, $5,000 first month's rent. And then he stayed in there another 30 days, thank you, with another $5,000. So I got paid and it was no money down. That's what private money does for you. Can you do that? Yes, I can do it. Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh. What a good coach. Skill, man. Skill. So this is a guy that I was working with, and how much time do we have? Anyway, he got denied from bank, and there was no reason for this guy to get denied at all. He had a bunch of assets, and the problem with this individual, his name's Kurt. He on his tax return, he had 6 children. That's the first front page of your tax return. All your liabilities. Well, not liabilities. Well, you know what I'm saying. And what he was making did not in line with, you couldn't perform to pay. So he came to me and he's like, man, I can't do this. And I was like, yes, you can. And so I gave him this strategy right here. I'm about to go through this. This is exactly how we did it. So within a couple of months, we raised several $100,000, and it was going so fast that we did a class together. We did a course together. So the first thing you need to do, step 1, you got to have a plan. You got to actually figure out what you want to do. So what I do is you got to make a list of every vendor. So right now, you know that I loan money. So your top of the list should be Stephen VanCauwenbergh. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I loan up to $250,000. If you're new, $100,000. I'll loan $150,000 to you. If you're Keith, I might do 2 deals at one time. So right now you have to gauge. So then the second person that you should have on the list should be who? Who? Andy Grieb. Now his term's a little bit more stringent than mine. Probably.
I'm gonna call me first. We'll talk about it.
The great thing about this private money is that it's negotiable. I always tell people 6%. I start there. So I know a guy that does 12%. That's what when he prospects somebody, he's like, I give a return of 12%. And for him, it's real easy because it's once a month. 12 months. It's just easy for him to do that. So you make this list, friends and family, investors, and so you just keep your ears open and keep a spreadsheet in Google Drive of everyone you can think of that would have private money. And that's how I do it. So if I'm at an event and I get your card and we talked about private money and I have an idea, I just put it on there. And so two things happen. Anytime a deal comes my way, I already feel like I can get the deal closed. Have you ever felt that you can't get the close, you don't know if you have the money, or you're tapped out, you have a line of credit, or I go right to my private money list and I just start, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. There's a guy in my neighborhood right now who's an engineer who makes airline parts and he owns a several $million company. I know I could ask him for $100,000 or $50,000. I don't think it's going to be a big stretch. Now the biggest thing that you're going to have to overcome is approaching that individual. I think that's the biggest weakness that I see with young people or people that are trying to get in the game. They're afraid to ask. But it's a biblical principle. You ask and you shall receive. It's really not hard. Now, you could practice, and that's the best way. And just go over it, scenario, over and over again. And here's the cool thing. There's people in this industry that actually loan privately that you would never think. From appraisers to bankers to other people that work in this industry actually loan money to other investors. So it's not limited just to private people, but for example, if I've been working with the same property management company forever, the person behind that, they loan money. Okay, so two, you got to ask. You got to be proactive. You got to walk up to people. You got to create a credibility kit. Credibility kit is like a resume, maybe of the deals that you've done. You need to understand the process of how it works. They're going to ask you key questions like, what happens if the house burns down? What happens if you die? What if you can't rent it out? What if you can't make a payment? You've got to be proactive and learn all this stuff beforehand. Okay, anybody have any of those questions? Because I can help you with one of those questions.
Actually, what happens if you die?
Well, we have a beneficiary. My estate goes to, and I go into where my estate is, and then and this is what happens. Your loan is going to be guaranteed based on the asset, and I personally collateralize everything I do, and I just walk them through that process. And usually, I name them insurance. I find out what their pain point is, and and I just try to have an open dialogue of communication. This is the agenda, this is the goal, and find out, because people that I come across have never heard of that you can even do this. People have hundreds of thousands of dollars in their IRA and they had no idea. It blows my mind that they didn't know that that's their money. They just thought it was their job's money, or they don't know what a Roth IRA, self-directed IRA is.
Hey, Steven, I was asked, the way I always start with stuff is how many people here have a retirement account from a previous employer where they had some money? It might be 10 grand, it could be nothing, that you had a previous job. You guys could be a private money.
My wife has one.
You can't loan it to yourself, but you can loan it to somebody else. And that same other person could loan to you. And you could have a whole group of people that you meet that all could be private money lenders. It's an untapped resource.
Yeah, I've loaned him out of my IRA, and he loaned me out of his IRA.
Would a 401k work the same way?
You got to get it converted, right?
So you move it over to
roll it over to self-directed.
another subject, but basically if it's a previous employer, you take it out of whatever plan they have it and you move it to a custodian that allows you to do it. The law, ERISA, came out in 1974 that categorizes all of these, but basically it says you can invest in 8 different categories. Most banks only let you do 3, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. You can do 8 different things. That's why when you see William Devane on TV, I buy gold in my IRA. He's saying move it over to another custodian and then you can buy gold from their company. And now your IRA owns the gold. We're saying you can buy real estate. You can buy a note. You're buying.
You can buy a business.
You buy a business.
Even in this cannabis, there's people using their IRAs to be in the cannabis industry. You can buy a business, or you can invest in a business. It just can't be directly related to you. It can't be your wife, family, but you can, like, Andy wants to start a dispensary, you can fund his dispensary through your IRA.
But all the money, all the proceeds goes directly back to the IRA. You can't have any hands-on, and you can't personally go fix a leaky sink at your house if your IRA owns the house. You can't touch it personally. It's all got to be.
You can't benefit from it either. Like
Right.
I say, you can't spend a night in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. There's a ton of rules. If you're over the age of 59 and a half, if you had the account 5 years, you can go buy an Airbnb with the beach, and you go stay in it all you want because it's an IRA distribution to yourself.
Oh, there you
And
go.
100% tax free. So there's all kinds of rules, and once you start hitting it, it's
When your anal's
awesome.
detailed like him, you
Don't
hang out
cash
with
it out.
I'm
If
I
someone says,
don't
"Hey, is
even
there a way
write.
to do it?" Yeah, there is.
You could do checkbook IRAs where you actually have control of the money, like, but it gets sticky. And so I'm hands off. I use a custodial.
How do you find out about all that? Who do you go talk to? I remember talking to my accountant once. They're like, that's not really my specialty.
Okay,
It's a
great question.
specialty.
That-
for-
That's
Read that book first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would read the book first, but like, there's a guy that I deal with. He's on my podcast a lot. It's Mike. He's in IRA Innovations out of Nashville, and he loans money too. He's a private lender.
Bigger
Out of
Pockets has
Nashville.
a list of all the
Yeah,
custodians.
Bigger Pockets is a great place. The problem is no one wants to read the law. No one wants to understand it, and it's just a complicated thing. It's really not complicated.
Just be able to learn the process. Who you go talk
Just
to.
that-
That book.
Just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I would take Andy out to lunch. Like, I didn't know about the 1956 deal. Or 56 years old. I'm not that age, so I don't care. But but there's a lot of ways you could do it. But I would just start with the $12 to $15 book, and then that will give you an understanding, because you want to know because those answer all the basic questions. That's why when people that are private, like, they've never heard of it before, like I was talking to a dude yesterday at my son's wrestling. No, this was last night at my daughter's basketball practice, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm working on a new property right now, and I go, "This is what I've been doing for 20 years is real estate investing. I work with several investors. This is how I open the conversation." He would be an individual that I would encourage to read that book, or I would give him the copy of the book. And then there's people that just take it and run with it and are like, they're so excited they'll give it out. Because like the girl that works for me for 5 years, it took her 5 years. Now I've been prospecting her, so she worked with me for a year. It took 2 years for me to train her to run the property management company. After that, she believed in me. After 2 years, she saw what we were doing. But then when the second year that I started rolling, I started talking to her, how much do you have in your IRA? X amount. Have you thought about what's your return? And she would rebuttal me. She's like, well, I'm getting 8%. Okay, show me. Because that's a lot. But someone told her that the person, this is the biggest problem. This is the biggest problem. When you have money in this account, the guy or gal that's managing that account, they don't want you to let go of that money because they're not going to get paid anymore. So that's the economy. That's the problem with this little industry is like he said it very vividly. 3 things is what they invest in. What are they?
Stocks, bonds, mutual funds.
Yeah.
They make money on those.
And they make money on all those because they're managing all those. So when you say this happens when I moved my Vanguard to my self-directed IRA, why are you doing that? And they just started scrutinizing, can you do that? And because now I'm moving that money from Vanguard over to a self-directed IRA, and I'm not getting any return on where I'm parking my money. Now I have to take the lead and start making money out of my IRA money. It's hard to move that money over. It's not hard. There's about 20 pieces of documents you got to sign and notarize and figure it out and pay an application. You see, they don't make it easy. You as a private lender, you do that for that person. That's what I do. I'll do that for you. And I have a checklist, because I do it, I have it all written down exactly how to do it. You have to contact their custodial, their IRA company. What's the forms I need to fill this out? I'll even get to the degree where I get a power of attorney just so I can speed this deal up. And get it, but I'm walking through the people through the whole process. This is the document you need, but they're not going to be real advantageous to say, okay, you have $1 million in there, and they're just their management fee is enough for them to be a little frustrated that you're going to move the money, and they're going to try to talk you off the ledge. Why are you doing that? Real estate's not, it's gonna crash. Just don't tell them anything. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
Because when you have an uncle and you tell them that, they may not understand, and then they call their financial planner and they're gonna shoot it down. They're gonna say no, because you're just cutting them out. They love the little percentage that they make. But the thing that drives me crazy about those people, they make money when you lose money, they make money when you make money. But they don't give a rip about you. They don't come to your house. They don't send, I mean, they may send you a fake Christmas card, but you're still paying when you're losing. When you are in control of your money, you're winning automatically. It's your responsibility. And that money is your responsibility. But they make it seem like, and make it difficult for them. I don't want to get amped up on that. All right, any other questions on that? It's hot in here.
It is.
Because
What would you say is the best custodial company to go with?
Good question.
When people ask me, I give them a list. 'Cause
Yes.
I wouldn't say, I mean, I could say, hey, well, this is
That's
who
what
I
I-
use, but always give them a list of this company is good for this. And if you take a look at them, they all have good websites. That
Let me
gives
just give you
a
some
lot.
answers.
Sorry, go ahead.
I use Southwest Trust out of New Mexico. Sunwest Trust. That's who I use. They're the cheapest. Not because I'm cheap. It's because it's the easiest. It's $400, and they manage the whole thing for me. Or it might be $200 or something.
It's like
Who uses it? Do you use it? Because everybody I
do.
talk to, you use it too?
Yeah.
How much?
It's 300 something.
300.
I think. Yeah.
It's a flat fee. I'm all about flat fees. Equity Trust.
Equity Trust is a flat fee now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh.
based on how much is in your account, is what equity is.
It is, but I mean, the most expensive is Quest, but they have phenomenal.
Yeah, but
training.
that was my third. I offer the third. I say Quest. Quest is where the players play, but they're very aggressive, and not in a negative way. But they're the ones that actually kind of passed the bill in 1980s that actually made this go through. They're the first self-directed IRA people. Quest out of Houston. There's thousands of them. Okay, so let me just give you a little caution here. There's thousands of these people running around. They're not regulated. Okay, so you got to do your due diligence on where you're parking your money. Okay.
And you can use a person still, right? Like your lawyer or something.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah.
You have control. You follow the law.
It doesn't have to be.
Just like you could do a table closing, you don't have to close at Old Republic Title. I can close right here on a property. I can sign a deed over to you. But why do we go through title
Not
company?
that I'm not saying I
No,
suggest
no.
that. I'm just saying you don't.
I'm just giving you a
have
heads
to.
up. But I mean, just so you know, like there's a ton of them out there. And they're very aggressive in the beginning. Don't you think it's bizarre that Equity Trust changes their business model 20 years in the game?
You gotta compete.
Competing? I mean, I just think it's interesting. Like, what was their first impression? What was their first, what's their business? To me, I'm not a
Equity
fan.
Trust is flat fees.
Huh?
Said Equity Trust and.
No, I don't know anything about Equity Trust. I can tell you right now, I'm not saying I'm a fan or not a fan of Equity Trust, but I just can tell you this for firsthand, that I've seen deals go down and fail because Equity Trust did not get the money to the table. Has any witness to that? I've actually purchased property from an investor that could not close and called me the night before and said, I can't close, my money's not there, and I'm gonna give you this for free. And I bought that property. They couldn't close. Because when you're in, like if you're in a foreclosure, an REO deal, like there is no contingencies. You must close. And if it's a HUD thing, there's some things that you have to close. Does anybody know that? Like you could lose a deal if you don't close. Like extensions are not automatic. So this poor investor has been working with a private lender, and they were going to close, and they could not. It wouldn't close. It took too long. Their average turnaround time is. Does anybody know?
Was it a week or something?
It's like 7 days. What's an average for Sunwest Trust?
3 days. They
3
say
days.
once you have it in, it's 3 days.
Well, at the same time, though, I've had paperwork go through Sunwest Trust that was
Yeah,
wrong.
I know.
So I mean, because
Yeah.
you get what you pay for too.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not on it.
scrutinize
Like that's
they'll
why I
say-
like them.
They kick it back and they'll say, "Hey, this form is wrong," and they've covered my butt a couple times on paperwork where I made a mistake. So
Yeah.
I mean, but Equity Trust, I mean, they all offer like a concierge level, pay $200 more, and you.
IRA
you get it in 24
Innovations. I
hours.
love that guy out of Nashville. I'm already just into my own system, but that guy, I can give you his name's Mike Todd.
What was this company? You said?
IRA Innovations out of Nashville. The cool thing is like, entrepreneurs could actually own this business. One day I might own one, so be ready. But that company, I've known him for over 10 years, and my friends drill that guy all the time for fun. Like he goes to real estate meetings, and we try to do the craziest stuff we try to do, and he knows his stuff. We just play with him all the time. That's why I put him on the radio. I'm like, tell me about this checkbook IRA, because you can go to jail with this one, and he knows the law forwards and backwards. He's like Rose down there, and then reads the law. Like no one reads the tax code. Like I call Rose up, I'm like, hey, I want to write off this IRB. How can I make it happen? She do. I call 3 accountants. You can't do that. How is that possible? 3 accountants say you can't do something, and another accountant says that you can. What does that mean?
Jail time?
Settle down. I can tell you exactly how I did it, but I can say how I got burned on that situation. Not burned, but I can tell you what happened to me because it just happened to me.
So who's the accountant that tells you that?
Well, it was Rose downstairs, P3. So I called her up and said, hey, man, my dream to buy an RV, and I want to buy an RV, but I don't want to pay for it. And she's like, this is how you do it. You cannot put it in your name. No problem. I got a lot of LLCs I can pay for. Number 2, you can't touch it. Oh, you have to have a management company manage the asset. And what are you doing with the asset? I'm going to rent it out. So you just have to prove that you purchased the asset for the intent to rent it out. And guess what I did?
Rent it to yourself. Rent it once.
Well, I never rented to myself. That's the cost of the line there, buddy. So I found a management company down in Southside called American Dream Vacations. Google it up. They're on Shields. They manage that asset for me. But it wasn't lucrative enough for me. I got a little frustrated. I'm like, hey, these terms are not working right. You said 50-50. I'm not getting 50 on this. So I decided, I was like, hey, it was cool. I got the RV for a year or 2 years. I owned it. Company purchased it. Company made money from it. Company does. Now, I'm done messing around with this RV. I don't got time for this RV. It's not making enough money for me. I'm out. So I called the accountant back. I'm like, hey, I'm going to sell this RV. That's where I get stung. Because now that profit goes, where does that profit go? Or not profit, because I lost some of it because it depreciated out. Goes back into the company as income. See? Because I was like, that's not possible. She's like, yeah, because you wrote it off as an expense. See the difference? That's the difference between 2 different accountants. That's the same thing with everyone else that I couldn't do that. And I know you could do it, but those people don't think beyond what is easy and less resistance. That's what you're going to find in private money with some people that you're going to borrow from. That's not possible. You can't do that. You can't loan money IRA. Has anybody even heard that before? Like I've heard that several times. That's not true. That's a lie. Who told them that? The person that doesn't want their commission to be disappeared. Now, there's custodials too out there that says that you can get a checkbook IRA and that you can go write checks out of your IRA, but you can, but you have to specifically document it in a specific manner. If you don't, now here's the penalties that you need to be aware of. You know the penalties, Andy? Because I'm probably going to mess them up.
50%.
Yeah, so if you do it wrong, what I'm saying, like if I wrote myself a check out of my checkbook IRA, I would lose half of my IRA. So if I had $100,000 in there, I would lose it all.
Plus the rest of it is taxable at your current tax rate as income.
Right.
So it's huge.
So you need to be aware of, that's why I would go with a custodial. They don't get affected by this, you do. Okay. How many more slides I have? All right, we'll burn through these real fast. All right. So you need to understand the whole process. Like you need to, like I put on here, application, fees, processing, closing. You need to know all that stuff because your person that you're borrowing money from is going to ask you those questions. Terms. There is no. I always start off at 6%. I just start there.
When you're asking for money?
Yeah.
Okay. Not when you're offering money, when you're asking for money.
I don't offer money. People ask me.
All right.
Yeah, I don't. No. Yeah, good question. I start with 6. Sometimes I land at 8%. I don't really. It just depends on the terms and how long I need it for. Sometimes you borrow money 6, 12, 24 months, 10 years, 5 years, 20, 30. It just depends on what that person's looking for. They may have. Hey, I'm looking to loan money right now. I want returns. You want to borrow money for 6 months and flip a house? I'm in. Now's a good time. But some people think that they have to offer 12, or they have to offer 10. It's just a relationship. Andy and them, they wanted a certain number, and I was like, this is my response to them, because they weren't happy when I offered 6. They're like, no. And I'm like, well, and I said, well, it's okay. We don't have to do this transaction. I already have bank funding lined out. I'm just trying to master this private lending situation. And they're like, okay, we'll do it for 8. I know they don't loan 8 now, but I promise you, if I ask them at the right time, at the right place, in the right transaction at the right time, they'll probably do 8. It just depends if they have money sitting there. They're smart investors that want to keep their money velocity, keep it moving. So you're going to come across those type of people to borrow money from, and you're going to come across people that are completely oblivious, and they're just thankful that they're not getting 1% in a CD, and then they'll love interest only on 6. They're getting, I got loans out right now that I got a loan out right now. Keith, how much did I loan you? $80,000. So I loaned Keith $80,000, and how much you pay me a month?
1%.
$800 a month. Is better than a rental property in my mind. Because what's my goal?
Cash flow.
Cash flow. So I know him personally. I trust him. I know he's a realtor. I know he has skill. I've coached him. I know exactly what he can do. I know his skill set. And I'm like, when his 12 months comes up, I'm like, keep it rolling, homie. Until the market crashes. And then I'll be like, hey man, I need my money back. Because I'm going to buy 4 of those. Okay? So you got to understand, you got to step into you got to ask for help. I think that's a great thing. Andy is a great resource. He's helped me tremendously. I want him on the radio show to cover this subject. I actually made a course on this. I have a product out that talks about private money in depth for 8 hours. The guy with nothing, I started him from 0, and we raised about $300,000, and we documented every inch of the way. But you need to step into your greatness and ask Andy for objections. You need to get your docs ready. You need to focus on what you're trying to do, and you need to be an investor. So you got to keep in mind, there's some weird people out there that think they own you when they loan you money. Just make sure you set some boundaries in what you're doing. Build a relationship. Be consistent. And so Andy flew in today just to come to Landlord Lunch, not just for us, but he's been flying a plane for United. And why did he come to this lunch?
Save loads of money out.
To be consistent, to be visible. It works. You have to show up. You have to go to meetings. You have to go to the real estate club stuff. You have to be known. You got to tell people what you do. Okay? You can't just expect to be wealthy overnight without getting involved.
Hey, Stephen, if I'm correct, you can't just put on Facebook.
Yeah, there's laws.
Because you will be violating federal securities laws.
SEC.
So you have to have that relationship, right?
Right.
You gotta
Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot all these basic stuff. Yeah, you gotta have a
Just
relationship.
be careful, because I do see people doing that.
I mean, that's why I hand. Well, you can hand someone your business card. That's touch number 1. Okay, and then you can have a conversation. The way to protect yourself there is have an email drawn of what email me.
Have a trail. It's good.
That's how I do it. I forgot about that because I'm just so trained to do it. And then you build a relationship and
That's worth the prize, isn't it?
Yeah, that is worth the prize. Both of you guys.
Once you agree to the terms, how do you set that? Like, do you use a contract to set up those terms, or do you use title to set up those terms, or?
Well, like in this situation, I have an agreement between me and that person, and then I draw a mortgage up for them for the property.
You do that?
Oh yeah, I do all the paperwork for them. Unless they're
with the county?
Yes, I treat it like I treat them just like a bank. So if it's Sally lender versus First Security Bank, in my mind, they're the same thing. I just didn't go through underwriting. They just don't have my social security number. They just don't have these certain things. But they're collateralized through the asset.
I mean, with just a normal, private money lender, and then, like a first time, would you go to a title company to draw the terms of that contract?
Yeah, so what you're saying is, yes, I loan money around the country, and I have the title company draw that up.
Gotcha.
I charge my person a fee for that too. I charge them a $250 doc fee to draw a mortgage up, because I have staff that do that.
Gotcha.
But yes, either you can, their attorney at that, because like each state is different, and I just got this, actually there's a private money book I'm reading right now. I should have brought it. But on the back it lists every state and what their deed is and what their restrictions are. Is it a judicial state? And so like I had a problem when I was loaning money to, was it New York? Andy? Was a deed issue? Okay, some states are just deeds. Oklahoma is deed and mortgage. But some states are just mortgages. Some states are just deeds. Like I loan a lot of money in Tennessee. That's just deeds. So there's no, just depends on what state you're in and how are you doing it. But you can loan money anywhere. You can borrow money from anyone anywhere. And I think you get up to like $1 million before it gets all kind of weird. So you start, there's a thing called syndication or pooling money.
Accredited.
Yeah, and so you start getting into like weird stuff. But if it's just a casual transaction, but yeah, just, the cool thing is I taught this class a little bit more in depth in Tennessee, and this kid, I need to get him on testimony. He came to this thing, it was a $100 class that I had. He came to it, and his wife, who's a newly married guy, why would you pay $100 to go there? And so he went, I did my whole presentation. He called his uncle in California and loaned him $400,000.
Wow.
Because in California, $400,000 is like $40,000 here. It's just interesting. So, I mean, this the main point of this whole deal is the limiting belief on what you can do. Here's a couple parameters when I start coaching people on this stuff. It takes a long time. This is not like get rich quick tomorrow. And this is like, it's easy in this room because there's people in this room that loan you money. Like if you've brought me a deal, I'll loan you money. It's that easy. But to really do it well and to really do it in multi-millions of dollars of loan, it takes a long time. You gotta go through those questions. Someone's gonna ask you, well, what happens when this happens? What if I wanna get out of my contract? Well, that's a good question. It just depends on the situation. We can discount the note. I've had that question, but it just depends on everything is different and everyone is different. No one is the same. These are just guidelines. So some people like Andy has a whole system in place, how they do it. They're very diligent and very how they do it and how they operate. Some people do personal guarantees. Some people don't. If I loan you money, you're going to personal guarantee it. That's just how I do it. Now, I borrow from people. They don't make me personal guarantee it. That's okay. Okay. I'm not going to make them. I mean, and plus, I would do it anyway. So if I'm not a hypocrite. If I expect you to do it, and if Andy loaned me money and said, hey, could you personally guarantee? Absolutely. Because I wouldn't. But here's the thing, because I coach a lot of people that loan a lot of money. When someone does not personally guarantee it, man, my radar goes way up. And like to a degree where there was this deal, and I told this investor was asking me what I would do, I wouldn't loan him any money. If he doesn't think the deal's that good, and he wouldn't, then why would I take the risk? I'm taking all the risk. I'm putting all the money up. What do? What do you do? You found the deal, right? So you gotta that's how I'm different in how I think about it. But there's a ton of private money out there. And there's organizations a little bit that kind of pool money together and kind of do it out like that too. And there are a lot more. There used to be a company in town. Does anybody know that name of that company? Luke Ward where he got his first deals. What's that company? No, that's a hard money lender.
It was a different one. It was like
it was a mutual. This is. I don't know if they're around anymore, but this was actually here in Oklahoma City. they would get pool money, and they were SEC compliant. So they would pool money, and you had $100,000 in your IRA, and he had $100,000 in his IRA, and we got 10 people, and they had $1 million in this pool, and then they would act like a kind of a pseudo private lender, hard lender. They were in the middle, and they got really big, really fast. And I don't know what happened to them. And I know at one time they stopped, and they only did drive-by appraisals, and they were kind of loose in how they did it. But that's how Luke Ward got into the game massively. It should be on my number one pass.
Andrew Gasper too, I think, used them, didn't he?
I don't think so, but it's on. If you go back to episode number 1, I think we talked about it. It's way down there. Good luck. Just type in 001 on the thing, and you'll get to it. Cool. Any other questions? Can you do it?
Yes. Yes.
You should be doing. If I can go back and rewind time, I wish I would have. I was too insecure, not confident enough. And if you're not confident enough, that's okay. Find someone that's confident enough. Partner with an appraiser. Partner with an attorney. I mean, Jackie and I have done a ton of deals. Over 10 deals Jackie and I have done. Her skill set is confidence in anal paperwork, and I'm not, and I'm a hustler, and I can sell anything, and I can buy anything. And so we put our two things together, and we did a lot of transactions that way. Find someone in the room.
What is the Savvy Boot Camp? Are you struggling to get to the next level as a business owner? As an investor? Do you want to multiply your income? Sign up for the Savvy Boot Camp, a strategic and supercharged one-night and one-day event designed to shortcut your learning process and propel you forward. Just value, no upsells, and an intimate setting to build relationships with like-minded investors. We will be covering how personality profiling can make you a millionaire, outsourcing and the nitty-gritty of maximizing your property management, scaling your business through systems and automation, technology hacks you should be using every day, and how to raise private money. Go to www.savvybootcamp.com now to register or to find out more.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.